Attack on Titan episode 26. There are traitors on the island, again. And what does Samuel L. Jackson has to do with any of this? Hello everyone and welcome back to a new breakdown video for the last season of Attack on Titan. Today we are going to talk about our group which is now on the other side of the island's army, similar to how Reiner and Bert were to them years ago on season 2. Don't forget to subscribe if you are new here, and if you like my channel and you want to help me continue making videos and content, please consider buying me some coffee. I am really dedicating a lot of my attention and time to my channel, and that would absolutely help me out. And now let's jump straight into today's episode, Traitor, covering chapter 128 of the manga. The episode picks up with our new group of friends surveilling the harbor for a way to reach the flying boat. Hanji and Magath are not sure why the yeagerists didn't destroy the flying boat right away. Hanji suspects they just don't know if our group is still alive, and they would also need to explore the world after the rumbling will end. They are both worried the yeagerists will destroy the flying boat as soon as they see the group coming. That would be the end of the story for them, because that would make them lose that technology, as the Azumabito are the only ones who could recreate it. They also suspect that Floch is holding all the engineers captive, as they are the only ones able to maintain the ship. Without them, no one is going anywhere. That is why this mission is so complicated. They can't just storm the harbor, and even though they have 4 titans with them, that is going to be a tricky mission to pull off. That is also why Annie suggested they would need to kill everyone at once, so they won't be able to stop them from taking the ship. But Mikasa and Connie remind her that the Azumabito engineers could get hurt, and without them, the plan is ruined from the start. So even though the Azumabito is an enemy to Marley and they did attack them in the past, it wouldn't be smart to let them die. Unyankopon confirms that he can fly the boat himself, but without the engineers to perform maintenance, it won't be able to fly. He also explains the wings are currently folded for easier transportation, but he doesn't know how much time it would take for the engineers to handle it. Annie is concerned because they somehow need to fight and also protect the Azumabito and the ship while fighting. She also suspects the scouts won't play along and they wouldn't want to kill their friends. After all, most of the yeagerists have been with them since they were all in training together. That situation seems impossible to Annie, and she turns to Armin, asking him for his big plan, just like when he drove her to a corner. Annie is referring to the events of season 1, when Armin's plan eventually made her reveal her true identity as the female titan. She raises this simply because back then they also wanted to keep everyone safe, but instead they fell into a devastating fight inside Wolcina, and a lot of people died anyway. Peak agrees. That perfect plan of keeping everyone safe doesn't exist. It is simply impossible. That makes Connie snap. He can't understand how they started with the wish to save the people of the world, and now suddenly they're talking about killing so many of his friends. Annie actually sees their point. She doesn't have the right to ask them to kill their own people, which, by the way, are the same people Annie herself trained with years back. It is clear that Annie sees them as better people than herself and the warriors, as she is sure they wouldn't do what the warriors did years ago when they attacked Shiganshina. That triggers a very important moment for Reiner. He remembers Eren told him they are the same. That has several levels. Reiner and Eren both drove their friends into doing what they did. Reiner refused to go back to Marley after they lost Marcel, forcing his friends to go along with their plan, and Eren forced the scouts to attack Liberio to save him. But it also has a deeper meaning, as they both did what they did because they believed this is the best way to protect their loved ones. In addition, Reiner moved forward because he felt he had no other choice, and Eren moved forward because of his future memories, which proved to him there is no other way, because he already realized the future can't be changed. Sadly, that realization from Eren's part was missing in the anime, as it is part of the missing chapter 123, Island Devils, and here I feel it could have brought much more context to recent events. That's why Reiner tells the scouts they don't have to fight, but he also asks them to not interfere with the battle. Hanji informs the group that the rumbling has been advancing much faster than they thought, and by now it probably already arrived at the northern city of Marley. At that point, Magath goes on a little frenzy when he pins down Yelena and breaks her hand. He will keep doing that until she would tell them where Eren is. Yelena tells him that if they take her with them, she might change her mind and help them. Magath looks at Gabby, and here he reaches the peak of his character development. He asks the scouts for forgiveness for how he treated them last night. He acknowledges the fact that he was afraid of looking at himself because it also means he agreed with how the young warriors were mistreated by Marley. And he admits it was wrong to place the hatred of the world on them. He also understands now that it was wrong putting the sins of the past on the shoulders of the people of the island. But unfortunately, they came to a point they have a different responsibility right now, to make sure future generations will live and learn about their bloody history in order to never repeat it. They need to stop Eren, and they need to do it now. He bows down before the scouts and begs them to close their eyes while he and the warriors do what is necessary at this point. But to his surprise, Armin refuses. He won't just stand on the sidelines just to keep his hands clean. We jump to Floch, who gathered Kyomi and all the engineers together. He tells Kyomi that now their homeland is going to be destroyed as well, and all she has to do is to contribute to the island, now that all of her nation's best engineers are with them on the island. But Kyomi raises one of the most important aspects of this story. She claims that all they did is making their world smaller, and the violence won't stop there. She is perfectly right, because the island right now has a lot of different opinions about Eren's actions, so after the world is destroyed, the same fights will happen on the island. People will choose a side and fight their friends for what they believe in. Only now it will all go down on this little island. Floch tells her she simply needs to know her place and to act accordingly. He believes the island doesn't need her nation's technology. They lived without it for years and didn't have any problem. He tells her one more time, she needs to know her place, and right when he was ready to push the trigger, he hears Armin calling his name. Armin tells him that John and Unyankopon have been killed, and that the Armored and the Cart Titans just swam away and they need to chase them. He tells him to gather all the engineers and bring them to the flying boat as soon as possible. He and Connie ride to the docks, hoping Floch believed their lie, but they find themselves facing Daz and Samuel. A quick reminder if you don't remember those two. Daz is basically the guy who always needed saving. You might remember Ymir and Historia in the show trying to save a wounded soldier. That was Daz. He was also around since the first season, and he was always having some sort of breakdown. Samuel was there from the start as well. You saw him on top of the wall the day Sasha stole meat for her friends. That was moments before the Colossal Titan appeared for the second time. Back then he fell from the wall and was saved by our sweet Sasha. Another fun fact, his full name is no other than Samuel L. Jackson. And yes, that is not by accident. Connie and Armin arrive to see the flying boat surrounded with explosive, with the detonator sitting at the docks. They tell Daz and Samuel to remove the explosive because they need to follow the Marleyans that escaped to the sea. But the two tell them to slow it down because there are rumors that the group is actually working with Marley. Armin and Connie tells them they would never do that. They would never do something to put their island in danger. Daz disconnects the detonator, although he still suspects they might try to stop Eren from killing all those people. He soon notices how nervous Connie and Armin look, as they both hope their plan will go smoothly without any unnecessary killings. Back to Floch, he realizes something doesn't seem right. Why didn't the scouts just use the train instead of their horses? He doesn't have any proof, but he also doesn't want to take any chances, so it's best to kill the engineers just in case they are trying to trick him. But before he does that, Kyomi grabs his hand and pins him to the ground just as he fires a shot. He screams to his men to kill Kyomi, and as they are about to do that, Mikasa comes flying through the window and takes down both of them. Floch manages to escape using his ODM gear. He flies outside and yells to everyone that Mikasa, Connie and Armin have betrayed Eldia, calling the soldiers to kill them on sight. Mikasa tells everyone to go down quickly, just as a barrage of thunder spears comes flying through the windows. They are intercepted by more soldiers when they go down, but Jean, Hanji and Magath take them before they can hurt anyone. Down on the docks, Daz and Samuel hear everything and Daz starts reconnecting the detonator. But as soon as Armin comes any closer, Samuel shoots Armin and takes him down. Armin is badly wounded, but by being a Titan shifter, those injuries won't kill him. Samuel points his gun at Connie and orders Daz to blow up the flying boat. Crying, he asks Connie why did they betray their friends. They always dream of taking more land and sharing meat together. That was actually Sasha's dream, as she always wanted everyone to have enough food so they won't need to fight about it. That also connects to the piece of meat Sasha hid for them before the Colossal Titan appeared. Back to the main fight. The group has trapped themselves in the basement with nowhere to run. They did that so the Titans could fight without worrying they would hurt them. Outside of the building, Floch is wondering why they did that, as Reiner and Annie appears behind him. Welcome back the female Titan, as she now joins forces with Reiner for the first time on Paradis. Samuel is distracted by the Titan transformation and Connie manages to jump on him. And in the distance, injured Levi looks at everything, while Yelena tells him that violence is one thing they can't take away from humanity. The Armored and the female Titan fight side by side, smashing and kicking the soldiers who surround them. To remind you, the last time they faced the female Titan, they didn't have the Thunder Spears yet, and that will become a major issue for both Titans in the next episode. Back on the docks, injured Armin jumps on Daz to prevent him from blowing up the ship, but Daz aims his gun at his head, begging Armin to stop. Here we get the most heartbreaking moment of this episode. Everyone is crying, and Samuel calls Connie a traitor, which is of course the name of this episode. Why are they doing this? Aren't they all friends? Aren't they all on the same side here? And Connie realizes this is the same he felt back then after Bertolt and Reiner revealed themselves as traitors. The table has turned, and now Connie and his friends are in a similar position, betraying their friends. Connie cries and tells him they are friends, but in his mind he remembers the answer Bertolt gave him 4 years ago. Someone has to do it. And now, unfortunately for them, it's Connie's time to do the unthinkable. He screams in pain as he grabs Samuel's gun and shoots Daz, who drops straight into the water. He then points the gun at Samuel, and with tears in his eyes, he shoots his friend in the face. And right after, he screams to the sky in agony for what he had to do. And that is where our chapter and also this episode ends. On a personal note, when I read this part, I never imagined I would get so emotional seeing this animated, as MAPPA did a tremendous job on all departments, and every voice actor added some more pain to this already extremely painful moment. That was also such a sad realization that Connie killed Samuel 4 years after Sasha saved him. And Daz, that was always so afraid of being eaten by Titans, finally found his death by a bullet from his friend's gun. This episode turned out to be so much more emotional than I have ever imagined. I can especially see it in the comments in my Facebook group, and sadly, I believe this will instigate much more heated arguments between the people of our fandom, and I am honestly kinda scared to see the comments that are about to come. This is all for this video, my friends, so please let me know what you think. And for the first time, I am saying goodbye to you with sadness, because I really feel the hate is about to rain down on this story, which I love so much. So please, if anything, take my closing phrase to heart. Remember that we are all just people living in a very messed up world. And because of that, we need to always dedicate our hearts to all of humanity, inside and outside the walls.